Dave, I know we've talked a lot about Clayton Kershaw as of late and just kind of what his time out on the mound has looked like. Does he have somewhat of a plan for today, or is everything changed now that it is the full season?
I don't know if it's changed as far as how I'm going to use him. I think that obviously how he's throwing the baseball certainly matters most. It's been kind of right around 70 to 80 pitch mark the last, we'll call it 6 outings. I think he's been into the 6th inning, once at last outing in San Francisco. So I'm going to watch the game. I'll talk to Mark, see how Clayton's feeling, throwing the baseball, and then go from there. Appreciating the fact that we've got a stable full of rested arms that we can deploy at any point in time.
Fabian, standing up on the left.
Yeah, Dave, just what went into the decision of Wong over Rosario?
Yeah, I think that it was a tough one. I think it was more driven by the fact that we've got Kike and CT that are versatile players from the right side, and having Ahmed without a left-handed starter going for them a little redundant, and so to have a left-handed bat in Colton, who you could come out of some hitting situations, to come out of it with him on the bench, we just felt was a lot of value.
And I imagine both guys, Lance and Brian throw the last couple of days. What about Emmett? Is he sort of available these first couple of games, and how do you sort of plan on using him?
Emmett's available these first couple of games. I see him as a neutral guy. So yeah, I mean, he's available just like everyone else. Obviously, Pepio threw yesterday, Lance threw the day before, so they won't pitch in game 1 or game 2. But yeah, to your question, Emmett's available.
Andy, standing up on the right.
Sure, Andy.
Thank you, Dave. It's only 1 October. With Clayton, when you talk about sort of watching how he pitches, how the baseball is coming out, are there keys that you look for with him, whether it's command, depth of the slider? What are you looking for?
The latter first, the depth of slider. I think that's kind of been his moneymaker throughout his great career, and so he just has a pitch that it looks the same. It looks like a fastball, and then when his slider's late and depthy, it's hard to barrel it. And so when that's going well, that bodes well for us and Clayton. The other part of it is the fastball command. He doesn't walk many guys, and so when he's commanding the baseball, then we're in a good spot. I think for me, it's not about the velocity. I think that if his ball's doing what it's supposed to do, a couple miles an hour, it doesn't really matter. So to your question, it's the slider and the fastball command.
And how did you feel about his ability to produce that in his last few starts?
Really good, really good. And I would say that this is as good as he's felt physically in the last couple months. I think that there's maybe 5 starts ago, 4 starts ago, it was a little rocky as far as the command. But we weathered that, and I think right now he's in a good spot.
David, back right.
David, in September, Mookie kind of had a cooler month than he did in August. And it seemed like the last week or so of the season, he was kind of searching for that feel again. Have you seen any signs of him regaining that feel during these 5 days?
He's got it back. Over the simulated games, I thought he swung the bat much better. And I think it's a classic case of you're not as far off as you think you are. And, in August, he was unbelievable. And there were a couple games there in September that he just didn't feel locked in, and then you start trying to go down this rabbit hole a little bit, and talking to our hitting guys and hitting department and kind of doing a little minimal soul search and realize that he's not that far off, and that mindset kind of helped him and went into this past week, and he's in a really good place. So I think we should expect good things from Mookie this series.
Back row on the left.
Dave, you got 5 rookies on the roster, Alvin and 4 pitchers. Emmett Sheehan was out on the mound early today when almost no one was out there, just sort of visualizing. What have you kind of talked with those rookies about how they experienced their first playoff experience?
Well, he took a page out of Clayton's book. That's a good one. Good mentor. So I think for me, which I've told the entire team, is that the butterflies that I'm starting to get right now, that I'm sure everyone's going to get, is a good thing. And so there's no, you know, rock me speech or anything like that that I'm going to give these guys. And I just want them to enjoy the moment, and these guys are ready. And, you know, just watching baseball today, there's young guys out there. And so I think it is helpful that you look around the clubhouse and there's a lot of guys that have the same service time. And so, and you also have veterans like Jason and Peralta and Rojas that are just kind of as encouraging as you can get. So I don't expect that to kind of affect performance.
And with the Diamondbacks potentially starting all right-handers the whole series, do you have to kind of mix in those of the Reddies, Kike, Taylor, those kind of guys throughout the year, throughout the series?
I'm not going to force it. I think that they've got their bats versus lefties in this week, and you know, if they deploy, you know, those guys, those lefties, then, you know, if the situation calls for me hitting for Peralta or Hayward, I'll do that. And if it doesn't, I won't. So, but yeah, getting them involved at some point, I expect they're going to be in there anyway. Yeah.
Jack, you're on the right.
Clayton this week talked about, you know, even him not knowing when he came back from the IL if he was going to be able to make it to this point. Like, how much of an uncertainty was his status at times these last couple months, and how much does it change things having him at this state right now?
Well, I feel as good. I think, speaking for Clayton as well, we feel as good as we felt in the last couple months. There was a point where I didn't think that we would be in this situation, this position, and so a lot of people get a lot of credit, but I think mostly Clayton, because you know, to be able to kind of take a step back and let the process happen, I think he bought into that and allowed for that to happen, to put him in this position. So I'm very fortunate, and I think he feels very good about it. And yeah, it's also a good feeling, Jack, that it's not, he's healthy. And so it's not like we just kind of limping to this position, where I can honestly say this is as good as he's felt in the last couple months.
Back row in the middle.
Hey, Doc. Seeing that you've done this every year now for 8 straight years, has your approach to the postseason changed at all in that time?
I think so. I think that I've been guilty of you know, not appreciating the rhythm of the game in the postseason, and you know, trying to essentially err a little bit on being proactive instead of being reactive, which I don't apologize for that. But I think that you know, getting to know your players more, and just, you know, not saying you don't trust a player, but trusting certain players, and also you can speak to trust who you have coming into games, and more specifically to the pitching side. So I think that I'm more, maybe a little bit less proactive maybe than I have been in the past. But again, all the decisions, you know, that I've made, some have gone well, some haven't, you know, the results, and I got to live with that. But I still believe that I'm trying to get better every year, and you know, put our players in the best spots to perform.
Staying in the back row on the right.
Dave, Will Smith's batting the 3 holes and be catching a handful of rookies, or very aggressive base running teams, had a lot of success against Kelly and Gallen. How important is he to your team's success in this series?
Will is a very important piece. Catcher, he's a quarterback, he's hitting third, he's going to be in the middle of things for the lineup. I see him trending in a really good way in the batter's box. I love the way he's swinging the bat right now. I think Will, one of his superpowers is a calming presence, and I think that he's done a much better job the last couple of years of taking initiative of the pitchers, young or old, and so I feel good about him kind of navigating those guys, and yeah, and I think I just trust him, and so August and September wasn't ideal in the box, but he's been a stalwart behind the plate, and he's a big reason why we've prevented run for so long.
And based on kind of how he finished the season, how much do you think he's kind of looking forward to just starting the postseason, fresh start, really getting back to where he was before that injury?
You know what? I think everyone is. I don't think that it's specific to Will Smith, who, you know, struggled late. I think that everyone's just kind of looking forward to starting anew, and where you're just playing to win a baseball game and for your team, where The stats don't matter, and I think that, you know, whether you're Mookie or Freddie, who's had arguably, you know, tremendous years and MVP seasons, to guys that haven't, you know, to Miguel Rojas, who's, you know, didn't have a great offensive season. They're just ready to kind of help us win baseball games.
Awesome, thanks, Dave.
Take one last one to Barry up here.
Finish with Barry, the finisher.
The closer.
The closer.
Okay, two quick back to Kirsch questions. First of all, do you have any pitch count on him? Even though he's basically built himself up a little bit here.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I can't see him going more than 85 pitches, but I think that playoff pitches, the stress, you know, what his stuff is doing, I think that matters more than, you know, a hard pitch count. So I really don't have a hard pitch count, but I think that, you know, I think that 75 to 85, I think that is fair, is for me, kind of as a guideline.
And you know, going back to, I think now, the 2018 World Series against Boston, it seems like we keep talking about this could be Clayton's last game at Dodger Stadium. I mean, it's happened so many times already. Has it gotten a little comical, or is it something that, you know, you look at and you appreciate every time he's on the mound?
I appreciate every time he's on the mound. I think that it's a real struggle for him to decide if he feels physically enough to perform the way of his own expectations. I think that family, certainly where he's at, matters more than anything. And so it's a real struggle for him every, call it December, when he signs that contract. And so I think him and Ellen are going to circle, hunker down, and try to figure it out again. So for me, I do think that I understand that it could be his last start here, you know, given how the playoffs could go, and so I don't take it for granted. I'm just very grateful to, you know, wear the same uniform with him, and I don't ever take that for granted.
Do you think that, I think it's 43 strikeouts away from 3,000, and obviously his position on the Dodger all-time win list, do you think that'll be an added incentive for him to come back?
I think it's part of the math, if I'm being honest, but I think that's a small part of it. I think it would have been perfect if we would have checked that box, but we didn't right now. So, but I don't think that'll tip the scale, in my opinion.